I want to start with something we often forget. Evil doesn't always come with a warning label. It doesn't always look like a villain in a movie twirling a mustache, announcing its plans. Sometimes it wears a friendly smile. It sits across from you at dinner. It shakes your hand. It says, "Trust me." And before you know it, your world feels off balance. So today, I need you to listen, not just with your ears, but with your gut. Because when an evil person is in your life, you feel it before you understand it. Here are 10 signs that you might be standing closer to darkness than you think. We grow up believing that evil is obvious, that it announces itself with a sinister grin, a chilling laugh, or a menacing presence, that it looks like something out of a horror movie, something we can recognize and run from. But the truth, evil is not always loud. It doesn't always scream. It doesn't always wear black. It doesn't always show up with fangs and claws. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it smiles. Sometimes it wears the face of someone you love. Evil often operates in silence, in small, insidious ways that are easy to overlook at first. It hides behind politeness, behind carefully chosen words, behind calculated kindness. It doesn't need to shout to be heard. It plants seeds of doubt, insecurity, and confusion, letting them grow inside you until you can't tell the difference between your thoughts and its influence. Think about it. When was the last time someone truly dangerous walked into your life, loud and obvious? It doesn't usually happen that way. Instead, they might have come in gentle, charming, and warm. They might have been the friend who always knew the right things to say, the partner who seemed too good to be true, the coworker who made you feel special, until suddenly they didn't. Evil people don't just attack, they infiltrate. They make you trust them first. They study you, learn your weaknesses, and position themselves as exactly what you need. They are patient. They don't destroy you in one grand act of betrayal. No, they do it little by little, breaking you down piece by piece, so that by the time you realize what's happening, you're too deep in their web to escape easily. And here's the most terrifying part. They don't always look like villains. They can be the person who always offers to help, but only if it benefits them. They can be the one who listens to your problems just to use them against you later. They can be the one who comforts you while making sure you never feel strong enough to stand on your own. Evil isn't about volume, it's about control. It's about making you doubt yourself while they pull the strings. It's about keeping you so distracted, so unsure, that by the time you see them for who they truly are, they've already done their damage. So if you're looking for evil, don't just listen for loud voices and obvious threats. Look at the quiet manipulations. Look at the unspoken power. Look at the way someone makes you feel about yourself when you're around them. Because sometimes the most dangerous person in the room isn't the one shouting. It's the one smiling while they twist the knife. Imagine this. You're in a conversation with someone you trust, maybe even someone you love. You bring up something they said last week, something that hurt you, but instead of apologizing, instead of acknowledging it, they tilt their head, give you a small smile, and say, "I never said that." You're remembering it wrong. You're being too sensitive. And just like that, you feel the ground shift beneath you. That's gaslighting. It's one of the most sinister weapons an evil person can use because it doesn't attack you directly. It attacks your reality. It makes you doubt yourself. What is gaslighting? Gaslighting is psychological manipulation that makes you question what you saw, what you heard, and even what you felt. It's when someone rewrites history right in front of you and convinces you that your memory, your perception, and your emotions are wrong. It starts small. A little lie here, a little contradiction there, maybe they forget something important. But instead of admitting it, they insist you never told them. Maybe they say something cruel, but when you react, they tell you it was just a joke, that you're overreacting. And over time, you start to believe them. You start to think, maybe I really am being too sensitive. You start to question, maybe I did misunderstand. You start to doubt, maybe the problem is me. And that's exactly what they want. How gaslighting works, gaslighting isn't about lying, it's about control. It's about slowly breaking down your confidence in yourself until you rely on them to tell you what's real. It follows a pattern. They deny your experience. No matter what you say, they tell you it didn't happen that way. They twist the truth. They manipulate facts to make themselves the victim and you the aggressor. They use your emotions against you. If you get upset, they call you irrational. If you try to argue, they say you're attacking them. They isolate you. They convince you that other people won't believe you, making you feel alone and trapped. And once they have you doubting yourself, they own you. The damage of gaslighting is not just frustrating, it's devastating. It rewires your brain. It makes you feel like you're losing your mind. It makes you second guess yourself in every conversation, every decision, every moment. It can make you feel weak. It can make you feel like you're the problem. It can make you stay in a toxic situation far longer than you should because you keep hoping that maybe, just maybe, you're imagining things. And that's why gaslighting is so dangerous, because it doesn't just make you doubt what's real, it makes you doubt yourself. And when you don't trust yourself, you're easy to control. How to fight gaslighting? If you feel like someone is gaslighting you, trust your gut. Trust what you saw, trust what you felt, write things down if you have to, keep a record. Reality doesn't change just because someone refuses to admit the truth. And most importantly, don't argue with a gaslighter. They don't want resolution, they don't want truth, they want control. And the best way to take that power away from them is to step back, refuse to engage, and walk away. Because the moment you start believing in yourself again, they lose. Empathy is the ability to feel for others, to step into their shoes, to understand their emotions, to recognize their pain. It's what makes us human. It's what allows us to connect, to build relationships, to trust one another. But when someone lacks empathy, it's a warning sign, a big one. Why? Because a person without empathy sees people as objects, not as human beings with thoughts and emotions. To them, your pain is just a nuisance, your joy is irrelevant, and your struggles are either ignored or worse, enjoyed. What does a lack of empathy look like? Not everyone without empathy will come across as cruel right away. Some of them hide it well. They mimic kindness when it benefits them. They pretend to care when it serves their interests. But if you look closely, there are cracks in the mask. Here's what you might notice. They dismiss your feelings. If you tell them you're hurt, they brush it off. That's not a big deal. You're overreacting. You're too emotional. Instead of validating your emotions, they minimize them. They never say, I'm sorry. Apologies require empathy. They require a person to recognize they've caused pain. But someone without empathy, they refuse to take responsibility. If they do say sorry, it's empty. It's just a tactic to move on, not a genuine acknowledgement of wrongdoing. They exploit your vulnerabilities. A lack of empathy doesn't just mean they ignore your pain. It means they might even cause it on purpose. If they see a weakness, they use it. If they see an insecurity, they poke at it. Your struggles are not off limits to them. They are tools to manipulate you. They lack emotional reactions to other suffering. If someone gets bad news, they don't flinch. If tragedy strikes, they remain indifferent. Even if they pretend to care, you can feel that their reaction is forced, rehearsed, or awkward. They only care about themselves. Conversations always circle back to them. Their problems are bigger than yours. Their struggles are more important. If you're going through something, they make it about themselves. And if they can't be the center of attention, they lose interest completely. They struggle to maintain deep relationships. Without empathy, relationships become transactional. They take, but they rarely give. And eventually, people get tired of being used, which is why you'll often notice that these individuals leave behind a trail of broken friendships, failed relationships, and burned bridges. The danger of being close to someone without empathy. At first, it might not seem like a big deal. Maybe they just seem emotionally distant. Maybe they come off as logical or practical. But over time, their lack of empathy starts to feel like a black hole, draining you, making you feel unseen, unheard, unimportant. They won't be there for you when you need them. They won't celebrate your successes unless they benefit from them. They won't comfort you when you cry. And worst of all, that's the hardest truth to accept. They don't care about you the way you care about them, and no amount of patience, kindness, or effort will change that. How to protect yourself: if you recognize these signs in someone close to you, take a step back. Ask yourself, do I feel valued in this relationship? Do I feel heard? Do I feel like my emotions matter? If the answer is no, it's time to set boundaries. Stop expecting emotional support from them. They won't give it, and the more you expect it, the more disappointed you'll be. Limit how much you share with them. If they don't care about your feelings, don't give them access to your heart. Recognize that you cannot teach them empathy. It's not your job to fix them. You will waste years trying, and they will never change. Surround yourself with people who do have empathy. Find those who listen, who care, who show up when you need them. Because at the end of the day, you deserve to be around people who see you, who hear you, and who care. And if someone lacks empathy, if they show you time and time again that your feelings don't matter, believe them. Some people want love, some want respect, some want connection. But an evil person, they want control. Control is their currency. It's how they operate. It's how they measure success, not by how many people love them, but by how many they can dominate. To them, power is everything. They don't just want to be in your life, they want to be in charge of it. They want to dictate what you think, how you feel, who you trust, and what you do. And they don't achieve this through obvious force, not at first. They don't storm in and demand obedience. Instead, they chip away at your independence piece by piece until you don't even realize how much control they've taken. How do they control you? They use different tactics, different strategies, but the goal is always the same: to make sure you are never truly free. Here's how they do it. 1, they control through guilt. A person who thrives on control knows that guilt is one of the strongest emotional chains. They make you feel responsible for their happiness, for their moods, for their problems. After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me? If you really loved me, you wouldn't act this way. I guess I just don't matter to you. Every disagreement turns into an accusation that you've wronged them. You start apologizing for things you didn't even do, and before you know it, your choices aren't based on what you want, they're based on avoiding their disappointment. 2, they control by isolating you. A controlling person knows that as long as you have outside support, you're harder to manipulate. So they work to cut you off from family and friends, but not in an obvious way. They plant seeds of doubt. Are you sure that friend really cares about you? I don't trust them. They create conflict. Your family doesn't understand you the way I do. They demand all of your time and energy. Why do you need them when you have me? Little by little, your world shrinks until they are the only voice in your life. And once you're isolated, they own you. 3. They control through unpredictability. You never know which version of them you're going to get. One day, they're kind, affectionate, and supportive. The next, they're cold, dismissive, or even cruel. This unpredictability keeps you on edge, constantly trying to please them, to avoid upsetting them, to regain the good version of them. And that's exactly what they want, for you to be so focused on managing their emotions that you forget about your own. They control by rewriting reality. They twist the truth, alter the facts, and make you doubt your own memory. They gaslight you into questioning what's real. They deny things they said or did. They blame you for their actions. They rewrite history to make themselves the victim. And slowly you lose trust in yourself. You start relying on them to tell you what's true, what's right, what's real. And that is ultimate control. 5 is they control by making you feel small. Confidence is a threat to a controlling person. If you feel strong, you might leave. If you feel capable, you might stand up for yourself. So they tear you down. They criticize you constantly, but disguise it as helping you improve. They compare you to others, making you feel like you're never good enough. They mock your dreams and ideas, convincing you that you're not capable of more. Over time, you shrink, you stop believing in yourself, you start thinking you need them, and that is exactly what they want. Why do they need control? Because without control, they are nothing. People who thrive on control are often deeply insecure. They don't build real relationships because real relationships require equality, respect, and mutual trust. And that's not enough for them. They don't just want a connection with you, they want power over you. You want peace, you want yoga, you want a feeling good, you want respect, you want a connection with you, they want power over you. They need to feel superior, they need to feel in charge, and the only way they can do that is by keeping you beneath them. How to break free from their control, recognize the manipulation. If you feel trapped, suffocated, or like you're constantly walking on eggshells, it's not normal. It's control. Rebuild your support system. Reach out to the people they pushed away. You need allies. Start making your own decisions, even small ones. Take back your power little by little. Set firm boundaries. And when they push back, hold the line. They will resist, but you must stand firm. Leave if necessary. If the control is extreme, the only way to be free is to walk away. And I promise you, life is better without them. Final thought, the biggest lie a controlling person will tell you is this: you need me. But the truth, they need you. They need your compliance. They need your self-doubt. They need your silence. And the moment you stop giving them those things, they lose their power. So take your power back. You are not theirs to control. Truth is the foundation of trust. It's what allows us to feel safe, to build relationships, to navigate the world with confidence. But when you're dealing with an evil person, truth is not something they value. It's something they manipulate. So they don't just lie, they twist the truth, they distort reality, reshape facts, and rewrite history, all to serve their own agenda. And the worst part, they do it so convincingly that you start questioning your own mind. The many ways they twist the truth, an evil person doesn't just tell blatant, obvious lies. That would be too easy to catch. Instead, they warp the truth just enough to confuse you, to make you doubt yourself, to keep you under their control. Here's how they do it. 1, they lie but make it believable. They don't fabricate wild stories that are easy to debunk. Instead, they mix just enough truth into their lies to make them seem real. For example, they'll change one key detail in a story to shift the blame onto you. They'll take something that actually happened, but leave out important context to make themselves look innocent. They'll add a subtle twist to make someone else look bad while they play the victim. Because there's a grain of truth in what they say, it's harder to argue against. And that's exactly the point. 2, they blame you for their lies. When you catch them in a lie, they don't own up to it. Instead, they turn it back on you. I never said that. You must have misunderstood. Why are you always trying to make me the bad guy? I was just joking. You take everything too seriously. By the end of the conversation, you're the one apologizing, while they walk away with their lie intact. 3, they reframe the past evil. People love to rewrite history. They take events that happened and reshape them to fit their own narrative. If they wronged you, they'll make it seem like you were the one who hurt them. If they made a mistake, they'll insist they never did it or that it was someone else's fault. If you try to remind them of the truth, they'll act like you're crazy or making things up. Over time, you start to question your own memory. Did it really happen the way you remember? Are you being too harsh? Are you the problem? That's exactly what they want you to think. 4, they weaponize half-truths. They know that a partial truth is sometimes more effective than a full lie. So instead of making something up entirely, they leave out the parts that don't serve them. For example, if someone asks them about an argument, they might say, they just started yelling at me for no reason, leaving out the part where they provoked you. I tried to help, but they didn't want to listen, leaving out that their help was actually manipulation. They always make me feel like the bad guy, leaving out the fact that they actually did something wrong. By telling just enough of the truth, they make themselves look innocent while making you look unreasonable. 5, they create confusion. When an evil person twists the truth, their goal isn't always to make you believe them, it's to make you doubt yourself. They say things that contradict themselves. They tell different versions of the same story to different people. They change details when it suits them. And when you try to call them out, I never said that. You must have heard wrong. I don't know why you're bringing this up again. You end up so confused that you don't even know what's real anymore. And that's exactly where they want you. Lost, vulnerable, and easy to control. Why do they twist the truth? Because the truth is a threat to them. If people knew the truth, they'd see the evil person for who they really are. If you knew the truth, you wouldn't tolerate their behavior. If they admitted the truth, they'd lose power. So they twist it, they reshape it, they manipulate it, all to keep control over you and the people around them. How to protect yourself from their lies: trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't ignore your instincts just because they're trying to convince you otherwise. Write things down. If they frequently rewrite history, keep records, take notes, save messages, document conversations. That way, when they try to gaslight you, you have proof of what really happened. Look at their patterns, not just their words. A one-time lie might be a mistake, but if someone constantly twists the truth, if you always feel confused after talking to them, that's a red flag. Don't try to argue with them. You'll never win. They don't care about the truth. They care about control. Don't waste your energy trying to prove something to someone who already knows they're lying. Set boundaries and stick to them. Once you see that someone is twisting the truth to manipulate you, stop giving them access to your trust. Distance yourself. Protect your peace. Final thought: a good person uses the truth to build trust. An evil person twists the truth to build control. They don't care about honesty. They don't care about fairness. They don't care about reality. They only care about winning. But here's the thing: you don't have to play their game. The moment you recognize what they're doing, the moment you stop believing their lies, their power over you starts to crumble. Because no matter how much they twist the truth, the real truth always remains. Deep inside you, there's a voice, a whisper, a nudge, a quiet warning. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand, but it's there. And it's been trying to tell you something. When you're around them, you feel uneasy. Something about them just doesn't sit right. Maybe you can't explain it. Maybe there's no obvious reason, but your body reacts before your mind catches up. That's your gut instinct talking. And it already knows the truth. The power of your intuition is more than just a feeling. It's your built-in defense system. It picks up on things you don't consciously recognize. The slight changes in their tone, the way their eyes don't match their words, the inconsistencies in their stories, the feeling of being drained every time you're around them. Your brain may not be able to articulate why you feel uncomfortable, but your gut, it knows. It knows when someone is being dishonest, even if you can't prove it. It knows when someone is manipulating you, even if they haven't said anything cruel. It knows when you're in danger, even if there's no obvious threat. Your gut is never wrong. The only question is, are you listening? The subtle signs your gut picks up on, most evil people don't show their true colors right away. They're charming. They know how to play the role, but your intuition notices the small things that don't add up. Here are the signals it picks up on, often before you fully realize what's happening. 1, you feel drained after being around them, not tired, drained. Something about their presence sucks the energy out of you. Even if they're smiling, even if the conversation seems normal, you leave feeling off, emotionally exhausted, mentally foggy, and just not yourself. That's not normal. That's a warning sign. 2, you catch inconsistencies, but brush them off. They tell one version of a story today and a slightly different version next week. You notice, but you don't say anything. Maybe I misheard, it's not a big deal, I don't want to seem paranoid, but your gut noticed and it's trying to tell you this person is not truthful. 3, you feel like you're walking on eggshells. Even if they haven't done anything outright cruel, you feel like you have to be careful around them. Like one wrong word or action could set them off. A good relationship, whether friendship, romance, or family, shouldn't feel like a battlefield. If you constantly have to manage their moods and tiptoe around them, your gut is picking up on a deeper problem. 4, their words and actions don't match. They say all the right things, they make big promises, they act like they care, but something is missing. Their actions don't reflect their words. They claim they value honesty, yet you catch them lying. They say they respect you, yet they constantly push your boundaries. They swear they love you, yet they make you feel small. Your gut knows the truth. Who they are is not who they pretend to be. 5, don't you feel guilty or confused around them? A healthy person doesn't make you question your own mind. They don't make you feel like you're constantly doing something wrong. But with them, you second guess yourself. You start apologizing for things you don't even understand. You feel guilty, anxious, like you're always the one at fault, even though deep down you know you're not. That's manipulation, and your gut is screaming at you to notice. Why do we ignore our gut? If our intuition is so powerful, why do we ignore it? Because we want to believe in people. Because we don't want to seem paranoid, because we've been conditioned to look for proof before trusting ourselves. But here's the thing, your gut is proof. By the time your intuition is warning you, it has already detected the problem. And you don't need to wait for things to get worse. You don't need a big dramatic reason to walk away. The feeling of unease is reason enough. How to start trusting your gut again. Acknowledge that your feelings are valid. If something feels off, it is off. You don't need evidence to justify your discomfort. Stop over-rationalizing bad behavior. If someone constantly makes you feel drained, anxious, or unsure, that's enough. You don't have to wait for proof that they are dangerous. Look at their patterns, not their words. Don't get distracted by what they say. Watch what they do. Distance yourself and see how you feel. Sometimes the clearest way to confirm your gut instinct is to step back. If you feel lighter, freer, more at peace without them, that tells you everything. Give yourself permission to walk away. You don't owe anyone your time, energy, or presence. If your gut says this person isn't safe, listen. You don't need any other reason to leave. Final thought, your gut has been speaking to you all along. It's been whispering in moments of discomfort. It's been nudging you when something doesn't feel right. The only question is, will you trust it? Because the truth is, you already know, evil doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't always look like the villain in a movie, obvious and easy to spot. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it hides behind charm, behind kind words, behind false promises. But the signs are always there. They twist the truth until you doubt yourself. They use gaslighting and manipulation to keep control. They drain your energy, break your confidence, and make you feel small. They lack empathy, treating others like pawns instead of people. And most of all, your gut already knows. If something feels off, it is. If someone consistently leaves you feeling confused, exhausted, or unsure of yourself, it's not a coincidence, it's a pattern. And patterns don't lie. The most dangerous thing an evil person can do is convince you that your instincts don't matter, that your feelings are wrong, that you're imagining things. Because the moment you stop trusting yourself, they have all the control. But here's what they don't want you to realize. You have the power to walk away. You don't need to justify your feelings. You don't need permission to protect yourself. You don't need to wait for things to get worse before you take action. Listen to yourself, trust your gut, choose your peace. Because the moment you stop giving them power, they lose